Doesn't matter. They live here, we service them.
Yep.
Well, you know, I'll be the fathead that says so, but I think that's, I know what the law is, I know what it's saying, but that goes right up my skirt.
Good thing you don't live in California, my friend.
I'm glad I don't live in Texas or any other border state.
Okay, let's move on to new business. Resolutions on age 7581 and S2603. So, those of us who have copies share.
Well,
we
it's
made
law and
copies?
stuff, but these are the resolutions.
These were provided by RIASC, and they're actually,
This is the one on binding arbitration, this is the one on contract information.
yeah, there's two separate resolutions.
I've already looked.
And they are actually quite important in terms of upcoming legislation. The binding arbitration is because binding arbitration is back, and we want to fight it just as vigorously as we did last year, as does every other school committee in the state. The other one is the more troubling one, and that is the I see these are both have the same title, so.
Contract continuation.
Yeah, the contract continuation. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And this one is the S2603.
Okay.
You have the binding.
And binding arbitration is the H.
Right.
House.
So the S6203 is, remember when we were at the legislative session and we had our handcuffs and
Some of you did.
And Teresa Pivaweed said, well, she didn't really think it was going to go anywhere this year. That's true. But the reason, was what we're hearing, what Tim Duffy's hearing at the State House, the reason it's not going to go anywhere this year is that they're backdooring this other legislation that would put in an automatic continuation clause for contracts once there's an impasse. Okay, so that is just as harmful, if not more harmful, than the original binding arbitration legislation. So, the school committees are again rallying to submit resolutions saying that we oppose this, and that's what these two resolutions are. And I brought this up at the town council meeting and gave them copies of this, and so this will be on a future agenda for them also, for that body also, if they so decide, to oppose these two laws. So I will read them out loud. Let's start with binding arbitration, just make sure that everybody's happy with the wording. Whereas current state law does not provide for mandatory binding arbitration on monetary matters for school teachers and other school employees. And whereas payroll cost is the largest single expenditure in school budgets. And whereas school districts and cities and towns have seen a calamitous reduction of state aid, and whereas there exists a $210 million revenue expenditure gap in the current fiscal year 2010 budget, and over an anticipated, yeah, we might want to change some of this, $400 million revenue expenditure gap for the fiscal year 2011 budget that will result in further state aid reductions. And whereas taxpayers are already burdened by some of the highest property taxes nationally, and whereas school districts and cities and towns must comply with Rhode Island General Law 44.5-2 that caps the property tax levy imposed by municipalities, and whereas according to 1629D, the school committee, quote, the school committee of each school district shall be responsible for maintaining a school budget which does not result in a debt. And whereas mandatory binding arbitration would take away from elected local officials the ability to control the biggest component of local budgets, and whereas, who would read this?
I know.
Whereas the proposed mandatory binding arbitration legislation being advanced by its proponents does not take into account student welfare, conformation with existing property tax caps, Rhode Island General Law 44.5-2, recognition of management rights that our courts have established, now therefore be it resolved that the Jamestown School Committee respectfully requests the Rhode Island General Assembly oppose to Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, request that the Rhode Island General Assembly oppose.
Well, it's that, the school committee.
Oh, that the school
Yeah.
committee requested Rhode Island, oh, I see. 2010, age 75-81. And reject any and all binding arbitration legislation currently being considered for teacher and other school employee contracts. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to every Rhode Island municipality, school committee, state senator, state representative, and the governor. The following bear witness. Okay, I apologize for not reading this first. I just forwarded it because it's a thing to do. But we have a few. I think the overall intent is good. We need to make a few tweaks.
Do resolutions have to be formatted in this annoying way?
They are.
What, the
They all seem
whereas
to be,
is-
yeah.
Seem to be.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think they have to be, but I think
It's more
it goes along
cosmetic.
with the traditions of flummery and function.
Okay.
But it does lay out very succinctly the main supports for this
Right.
argument.
But I think some of the more important points seem to be last on this list. And
The most important one
since-
here is
The being advanced, the last one, whereas, the proposed legislation does not take into account student welfare, the property tax things. I would have included the new BEP that has been approved by the Board of Regents, because that is the school committee, every school committee in the state is mandated to enforce this new basic education plan, and that's not even mentioned in here. That seems to be a much more important point than, some of the other ones that are higher.
So you would advocate adding BEP?
I don't know.
and comment?
I'd like
Yeah, I think
to
that's fine.
suggest it for discussion.
I think that's fine. I think we need to keep in mind that this probably doesn't warrant a lot of changes
No,
because
That's true. Yeah.
every school committee is probably using the same
Right, same
format. Hopefully
Okay.
they'll correct the typos that we didn't, but,
I think
so
we-
I think when a legislature gets this, they will have already seen it 36 times.
Okay,
And
all
so the
right.
chance that ours is the first that they actually read is
Okay.
probably pretty slim. Although we're pretty early in the game in getting this out, so
The other thing
it should
is-
be up to our usual standard.
The phrase management rights, I think we have responsibilities.
Right.
Those include the basic
Right.
education plan.
Okay,
And I think the BEP, if you think about it, the whereas above that is the one that bothers me the most. Is mandatory binding arbitration would take away from elected local officials the ability to control the biggest component of the local budgets.
right,
But why are we here?
Yeah.
right.
And, why, what did the taxpayers have to say when you get an arbitrator set, who can change everything that the taxpayers have wished for?
It wasn't voted in.
Right, exactly. And that in itself, to me, then connotes the idea of the responsibilities under state law of the school committees, and that would include the BEP and any other codicil within there.
All right, given that this is going to, this was ready for us to sign tonight, but now that we're making changes, do I have everybody's permission to put, just since I'll have to, Jeanette will make these changes and then I'll sign it, rather than wait till another meeting, just have chair for, submitted for the Jamestown School Committee instead of having each one of our signatures? Is that all right with everybody?
That's fine.
Yes.
Could we vote that we adopt it first?
Yeah, I'm just asking, yeah, we're gonna vote, I thought we could combine both, but, is anybody uncomfortable with that?
Discuss each separately.
Okay,
But in this case, as far as this one goes,
I wouldn't think she was combining these two resolutions, just getting our approval to make those changes and then sign for all of us in this particular.
on that particular one's fine with me.
Okay, is that correct?
Right.
yes,
We
yeah,
discussed this.
yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I will make the correct, I have this version, Jeanette sent it to me, so I will make the corrections so she doesn't have to do anything and I'll send it back to her. At the top, Jamestown School Committee resolution shouldn't say,
Which, what it's about?
what it's about. What do you wanna say?
Regarding
What
binding
format do you have
arbitration
here?
legislation?
Yeah, see,
Same.
this is
It just says
different.
binding arbitration in parentheses.
Okay.
I would
See, this
say-
one doesn't, this is the official, doesn't say anything.
In
It just says
read,
Regarding, in regard to.
in regard to
Binding arbitration.
I put the bill number in there too.
H 751.
Well, except that different bills
Are you just saying in general, binding arbitration?
regarding binding arbitration, I'm gonna say.
It's amazing the number of things in the files.
Right.